Hello and welcome to episode 139 of Controller Club, the friendly face gaming space, a podcast where three friends from three different continents share in one love, and that is video games. On today's show, we will be asking the question, is the future of Xbox in peril? Could God of War be headed to Egypt? And we've got a very special surprise from one of our co-hosts, Tom Drew. But before we get to all that, let's introduce our panel of hosts today. My name is Kleinfeld, as always, and alongside me today are two of my best friends in the whole wide gaming world. First, coming to us from across the pond, it is the digital art daredevil himself, Newshound, Tom Drew. Tom, how are you doing? What's going on? You got your newsy cap on this week, and I appreciate that.
I really do. And you know what? I've never really understood the appeal of like these scoopers who have all this like insider information and stuff until this very moment
Yeah,
when
until
I
you
have
became one.
something. Exactly. I am the scooper this week. And it feels good because I'm going to reveal some information. I don't know how big it's going to be. I'll say that up top, but I think it's pretty interesting. So we'll get to that a bit later in the show. Stick around.
You have played the PlayStation 6 and you have seen Half-Life 3. It is
Yes,
crazy. We'll get into
it's
it in a little
wild.
bit here. Before that, though, let's introduce our other co-host in a new surrounding, journalist extraordinaire, the Australian abroad / the Canadian in training, fresh off a walk in the snowfall, Lauren Rouse. Lauren, how are you? How are things? You're enjoying a bit of a winter wonderland for the first time.
Yes, I was welcomed to my new crib by a completely new surrounding, which was to wake up this morning and see Vancouver covered in snow, which was very exciting. I immediately got changed. I went outside and just walked in a snowstorm, which most people would probably be like, that doesn't sound like fun. But yeah, I went out there, I got very icy, and I came back. So I feel like that's another check in my Canadian training regime.
Did you enjoy the feeling of having the snow like collect in your hair and on your eyelashes and just
Hmm.
like your whole face coming in and your cheeks are sore when they come inside because it's like
Yeah,
nose is still frozen a little bit. It's an experience.
all part of the process.
Tom, no snow for you. Like England, snow not very often, right? Just lots of rain.
Yeah, it's pretty snow averse. I mean, if you go a bit up north, I'm sure you get a bit more. If you're in Scotland, I'm sure you get snow quite a bit during winter. But yeah, like we'll get snow maybe once or twice a year, and if then, it'll probably be in like March for some reason. I
Oh.
don't know why it happens around that time of year, but it just seems to to do it that way. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Bit of a shame.
It's I don't know, it kinda sucks because me not living in England, being a foreigner, and having now seen it, but, like, my image of England in my brain is, like, the London from, like, Charles Dickens' like Christmas Story and stuff, and to me that's covered in snow and like the
Yeah,
big steam stacks with like the with smoke coming out the top of them, and it's not exactly the way it is
no,
anymore. Which is sad. You're not skating on the River Thames or anything.
I
It's
wish.
yeah. I don't know if you'd even want to touch that ice. It might be it might be
Yeah,
nuclear
that's a good point.
reactive.
Actually, yeah, that's rough. Yeah, that'd be rough.
But yeah, that's enough weather talk for today. Let's get into it. We'll start today with a big one, and then we'll get into some smaller news headlines and then what we've been playing, and that'll be it. But it's been a big week. So, for our big conversation topic this week, the meat and potatoes of the episode, we are going to ask the question, what the heck is going on at Xbox? I want to ask the two of you before we really get into this. How are we feeling with the whole week that the Microsoft and Xbox has been having? Just like generally, before we kind of get into the nitty gritty here, it's it's been an interesting one. But Tom Drew, are you, I don't know, as kind of taken aback by some of the stuff that's been going on over the last few days?
A little bit, yeah, especially because of, we just had the developer direct, which I thought like kind of props things up as like, oh my god, I feel like Xbox is really going to have a banner year this year if they're really starting off this year strong. But then this other stuff kind of makes me feel like, oh, do they really know what they're doing? Maybe they don't, and maybe that's fine. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think it does seem kind of like the strategy is a little bit all over the place, but I don't know. Maybe they've got some secret thing, a way of this is going to play out. But yeah, it's a bit confusing so
Tom,
far.
I'd like to say that they might know more. They might know better what they're doing than they ever have. I think that they very definitively are like planting their flag in a
Yeah,
specific strategy. It's just something that we haven't necessarily seen. But Lauren, before we get into things, are you as, I don't know, I don't want to say shaky, but like, were you as shocked seeing some of these headlines this week as it seems Tom and I were?
I don't think I was shocked because they all have pretty decent justifications for why they're doing what they're doing. I guess like none of us are really like big Xbox fanboys, so I don't feel like slighted in any way by what's happening, but I can understand that people who have been big, like Xbox exclusive, like loyal fans from the beginning are probably feeling like a little bit like, hey, I supported you and now look what you're doing. But I just think this is an evolution of the industry. Um, and yeah, when you sort of go into some of the like statistics and like resources of why these decisions are being made, I think it makes sense. And it was like, we don't know what the result of this will be. Well, I'm sure we'll find out over the years, but I think it's actually a logical direction for Xbox to be going.
So let's get into the actual headlines itself. If you didn't know, this week saw essentially the top blow off when it comes to Xbox, the future, and how it will stand in the gaming business going forward. After months of speculation, some pretty juicy recent rumors as well. This week, the longtime console maker, Phil Spencer, Xbox, Microsoft, everyone kind of came out and finally addressed kind of what is next, what this next step, what this next evolution of this hardware family is going to look like. And I personally think, this is me kind of speaking here, it could change the way that the industry looks maybe forever. It is quite groundbreaking what they're trying to do. We'll start with where this all kind of started. Earlier in the week, Phil Spencer appeared in a few different places. He was on Gamertag Radio. You can go check out their episode over on YouTube. He was on Destin Legary, who used to work at IGN, just went off and is doing his own independent thing called Save State Plus. He did an interview with him, and he addressed all manner of things, including Xbox handheld, the future of Game Pass. But there was a few juicy quotes coming out of those interviews. The first one comes from Bloomberg, and he said, I do not see any sort of red lines in our portfolio anymore that say thou must not. So essentially, he's talking about their exclusives. And that's been the big deal for Xbox over the last, I guess, year or so. Around this time last year, we started to get news that, hey, some of these Xbox exclusives will not be exclusive anymore. They'll start coming to PlayStation, they'll start coming to Nintendo Switch. And at first, it was things like Hi-Fi Rush. It was things like Sea of Thieves, which is a massive game, but it was games that had been out a little while and not really any of these big tentpole titles. And so people started to wonder, if they go, is this just they're trying some things? Will they ever go full third party? Is that going to happen? We also have another quote coming from Phil Spencer from his Gamertag Radio appearance. In that, he said, in the position I'm in, I look at hardware as a critical part of what we do, not trying to gatekeep the games off of other places. It kind of sounds like, okay, Xbox is maybe starting to explore the idea of not just keeping it to the Hi-Fi Rushes of the world and the Sea of Thieves and the Groundeds, and maybe thinking about dipping their toes into putting Halo, putting Gears of War, putting Forza, that sort of thing on other consoles. And then the dominoes began to fall. We got another exclusive announcement coming to PS5. We already know that Xbox's Indiana Jones game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, going to be coming this spring. But on Thursday, it was announced that Forza Horizon 5, one of what I would say the big three of Xbox franchises, is coming to PlayStation 5. It will be coming this spring. This was then followed by rumors that Forza would just be the start of a bigger push for Xbox on a PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2, which would include games like Gears of War, including a possible upcoming remaster collection of Gears 1 through 3 on PS5 and Nintendo Switch. This would possibly include Halo Master Chief Collection, which is huge, coming to PS5 and Nintendo Switch 2, as well as other games like this upcoming possible Oblivion remake, Fable. I've seen Starfield getting mentioned a few places, Microsoft Flight Simulator. It certainly feels like this is a new era for Xbox. The walls are down and they are not necessarily binding themselves to the actual box anymore and putting themselves everywhere. This also comes a few weeks, I guess, since we got this whole "this is an Xbox" campaign. They've really been pushing Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, not just Xbox consoles anymore. It is, you have Game Pass on your Xbox console, you have it on your TV, you have it on your phone, you have it on your computer. Potentially one day we have it on your Steam Deck, we have it on your PS5, we have it on your Nintendo Switch. And that to me is where the future of this company is kind of going. But that's kind of all the information. Now we can kind of discuss. I don't know where you guys want to go. I think we should start just right here. What do we think with these walls coming down, what do we think that this most recent news means for the future of this company? Do you see a world in which this is kind of the beginning of those dominoes starting to fall and Xbox going essentially kind of full third party? I don't think it means the Xbox consoles are going anywhere. I think they may still continue to make boxes, but it will be just a small part of their business as they put their games everywhere. Lauren, how are you feeling? What do you think the future of this console maker that's been in the industry for more than 20 years looks like here?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I think just starting with the exclusive side of things. So we know that like hardware sales for Xbox have been declining. However, the appetite for their exclusive games is increasing. And when they introduced games like Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush and things onto PlayStation, they were like very welcomed. And there was a huge appetite there from people on other consoles to play these games. So in my mind, I'm kind of like, well, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Why do we need to keep playing this whole big exclusive thing when actually they can make money by putting it on other consoles? Clearly, if hardware is declining and software is king, it's best to just get that software everywhere. So putting things like Forza or introducing the Master Chief Collection and things like that onto other consoles, I don't see it as a huge deal. Of course, like I'm saying, I'm not a big like Xbox loyalist, so I'm kind of happy about being able to try these games. But at the same time, they could introduce like a Forza collection, a Halo collection, have everyone on these other consoles play it, enjoy it. And then when it comes to releasing the next one, the Gears 6 or the Halo, whatever the next Halo is, they'll be like, okay, that's exclusive to Game Pass or whatever we have. Meaning everyone will now, perhaps that audience is now invested in flocking to those games on their consoles, on their platforms, or Game Pass or something like that. So I think it just makes sense as a business decision. Do I think that PlayStation or Nintendo are going to follow suit? No, definitely not. But I think, Xbox is potentially like maybe the more like it has like broader appeal in that it hasn't always like won the race in terms of hardware and things like that. It has got these really big three properties, but, compared to some of the mass volume that the other companies have, it doesn't really stand up. So another point to add to that is that we did see Xbox like buy up all these companies, and our assumption was like this is so that they can have their own exclusives to drive people towards their platforms, but perhaps that's no longer the case. Maybe what they were doing was just buying the IP so that then they could sell it on their terms to other publishers and distributors and things like that. Because I'm not a business person, I don't understand the finances of how things get sold, but I assume that the money that is coming from these games on other platforms is being funneled back into the studios that made them. Therefore, it's also funneling back into Microsoft. So that is still making them a profit. And if that means that these studios stay afloat and they don't have to get rid of people and they don't have to close because they're getting more revenue from putting games on other platforms, surely that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that right now, as you said, it is all older games at this point. The big watershed moment, the big barrier that could potentially be broken down is the rumors of day one. If when an Xbox game is day one on PlayStation, that's when I think that we have gone full the other way. We like the Xbox is never releasing exclusives again. It will be a quote unquote third party company that also happens to make hardware. Tom, you're not an I mean, we'll say it right now. We've had accusatory conversations from people on Twitter and stuff. We are not Xbox potential fans here. Like I've played my Xbox games all through PC since I've had this PC. Lauren has an Xbox Series S, but Tom, I want to ask you, if you put yourself in the shoes of an Xbox fan who's had an Xbox since the first one, who's had an Xbox Live account since the early 2000s, how do you think that this news that these walls are kind of coming down would make them feel? Like, do you think that this is a betrayal to those people? Like, what is stopping them from just going to PlayStation? Because they go to PlayStation, they're also, or Nintendo, they're also going to get Mario, they're also going to get God of War, but now they're just as well going to get Halo and Gears of War, it seems.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's going through my head at this point. Like, if I was an Xbox player right now, just financially, it doesn't make sense to buy the next Xbox. It makes way more sense to buy a PS5 or PS6 or whatever, or whatever next iteration of the consoles for the other console makers. Because, like, if you already know that Xbox is willing to give these exclusives away, essentially. And all you have to do is wait for them eventually to come to these other platforms. Why wouldn't you also get the opportunity to play all these other games that these other console makers are offering on their platforms? So yeah, I think Forza is the big one because yeah, it is an older game. It came out in 2021, but that is like I think that's the most recent Forza, right? Like the Forza Horizon game, is
I
it, or
think
has
there
there
was
been
a
one since?
mainline Forza game, but it's like just called Forza Motorsport. But Forza
Right.
Motorsport 5 is like I played it on PC. It's one of the best, maybe one of the best games I've ever played. Like like the most recent mainline Forza game did not light the world on fire. Forza Horizon is incredible, and Forza Horizon 5 is one of the best. So like this is truly one of the like crown jewels coming over to another platform.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, we've seen with like PlayStation and PC at this point, PlayStation's willing to give PC some of these games. Like Spider-Man 2 recently came to PC. And I feel like, some PC players will obviously have like a PS5 or something like that. But I'm willing to bet like a majority of them are just like, well, I'm just gonna wait like for the game to come to PC because well, it'll come eventually. I've got all these other games I can play in the meantime. There's like no point in me getting a PS5. So that's where my mind jumps to. I feel like a lot of these Xbox players are going to look at it that way now and be like, well, I'll be able to play the games eventually on the other platforms. Why not just like bite the bullet and jump over? Because, yeah, realistically, what Lauren's saying, like the software is the king at this point. Like that's what people are buying these consoles for. Realistically, if you look side by side between the Xbox Series X and PS5, okay, there's like some differences. Xbox Series X has that like quick resume or whatever, like which is a cool feature and stuff like that. So maybe that's going to get people on board. But like, you're really buying them for the games at this point. And if the games just like aren't a big draw anymore, um, there's really not much point in investing in that. And maybe that's why they are doing this. This is an Xbox thing where it's like diversifying the thing. Because if their hardware goes down,
Which it
because of these
has.
decisions,
This week
which it
was
has,
also,
yeah,
I didn't mention Microsoft had their latest earnings call, and they said that console sales are falling, but Game Pass revenue is rapidly climbing. So there are more people in Game Pass than ever and less people playing Xbox consoles, which I think is like that is that's the thing to look at. Like that is exactly why they're making these decisions right now and exactly why they're going in the direction they're going in.
yeah, and that's just that. It's just going to be interesting to see if that actually like pays off for them. Because like I'm sure Game Pass eventually is gonna they're gonna keep increasing the prices, and at a certain point maybe it's not worth it in some people's eyes, and whether that kind of affects things. But it's an interesting gamble. I'm gonna be interested to see what else they bring. But I mean, look, selfishly for me, this is great because I can play these games. But yeah, I honestly do feel quite bad for if you're an Xbox player. I would be quite sad.
I think what's interesting too is we're seeing like two very different strategies from PlayStation and Xbox because
Mm-hmm.
Xbox Game Pass has to be one of the only, I suppose, subscription services on in gaming that is actually succeeding. I would be shocked to know, like, to find out. I'd be interested to find out what the numbers are on PlayStation Plus, because kind of I mean, personally, the only reason I have that is to play online, and I kind of pay for it begrudgingly. I don't really use it that much for the catalog of games and things like that. And also, they don't do the day one thing. If PlayStation did day one exclusives on PlayStation Plus, I think we'd be having a really different conversation. I think that would look very different. But they don't because I think they make enough sales through just selling the games outright, I suppose. So they are still very much in the play on the console, the hardware game. And I'm not sure that that's going away. We've got to remember that like they are a Japanese company. They have probably a very different view on business than what Microsoft does as a Western American business. And I think they are still very much like about the hardware and like you buy it and you play it on this console. And yeah, we're seeing it on PC, but a lot of those ports are not good.
The Spider-Man 2 port is getting just dragged through the mud. It is
The
supposed to
Last
be
of
a
Us one
mess.
was apparently terrible as well.
Mm.
So they haven't figured that out. They haven't like cracked the code on that. And so if this ends up working for Xbox, I'm interested to see whether PlayStation follows suit or they very much stick to their old regime. It's an interesting time.
It totally is. I think that we're seeing right now a divergence for the first time in a very long time in the console market. I think really since, I would say, like, maybe the SNES era, when like Nintendo, like, that to me is when Nintendo got off the, like, oh, we're going to like compete directly with our competitors and do something completely different. Like when the GameCube came out, it was, there was parity there between the Xbox and the PS2, but it wasn't nearly as close as it had been in the past. And then when you get to the Wii, they are completely doing something different. And then you go Wii U, Switch, like Nintendo is doing its own thing, and they've thrived in doing it now with the Switch and stuff. Xbox and PlayStation for a long time have been like not selling the same product, selling very similar products, selling essentially, hey, you want the power of a PC under your television without the issues that can come with PC gaming? Buy a PS3, buy an Xbox 360, buy a PS4, buy an Xbox One. And I think Xbox now is kind of looking at the future and going, hey, like these boxes might not be the future. Like we may look back in 10 years and look at Sony and go, why didn't Sony, like, they're so archaic in their ways. Like they look like dinosaurs, because like there's a possibility where if this strategy works with Xbox, where they have Game Pass on Steam. That's going to be a big thing. I think that there's conversations happening. If they can get Game Pass on Steam, that'll be huge. They have Game Pass on your Samsung TVs right now, on your LG TVs, on your phone. If if that like can win people over, where people who have never picked up a controller or haven't picked up a controller in a very long time now have access to this library of games, all they need is a Xbox controller and their phone, their TV, anything. We may look at Sony and go, why are they still even making consoles? Because every other device in my house is an Xbox.
What about this though? Do you ever see a world in which we get Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation? Like they seem happy enough to take the Xbox games and put them on their platform. Like I could see a world in which like yes, they want people to subscribe to PlayStation Plus and things like that. But if I can sit there and put Xbox on my existing PlayStation console that I already own and I leverage its power and things like that, I think there's like a scenario where they both win because I'm still buying the PlayStation and using it, but I'm paying for Xbox Game Pass. So I wonder if that's the way that they can actually work together.
I think that is something that Microsoft would love to happen. Sony right now is so, they are so far ahead that they're like, we don't, why? Like why would we ever do that? Nintendo getting Game Pass on it, I can see that happening. There is a partnership between those two companies that I think I could see happening quite not soon, but like sooner than on the PS5. But that's going to be the big thing, because I asked you, Tom, about how would you feel if you're an Xbox fan? You've built up, especially since the Xbox One generation, you've built up this library of digital games, and you're now going to have to like potentially throw it away to go get a PS5. What if I had a PC and I open up Steam, all my Game Pass games, or all my Xbox games, my Game Pass, everything is right there in the Steam app. What if I log on my PlayStation, I open up the Game Pass app, all my Xbox games are there, all my saves are there. That is the future Xbox wants. And I think that that is how you keep these Xbox fans who have been Xbox fans since day one incredibly enthusiastic about the brand without like really burning anyone in the process.
I'm just the thing I come back to is like right now is Phil's saying like he looks at hardware being a critical part of what we do. What does that actually mean?
Handheld.
And that's where my mind goes to. I feel like Xbox has been trying to do, the same thing these past couple generations of just like release a new box, and that strategy's worked for PlayStation, but it just doesn't seem to gel with Xbox. So I wonder if they have to do a Nintendo and they have to just look at the thing and be like, let's just do something completely different than
Let's
what we've done in the
innovate. Let's
past.
do something like that we've
Yeah.
never seen before.
And I think a handheld is probably the way to go. I think it could be a way of them. Nintendo's got that kind of market sector on lock. You have you have your Steam Decks, you have your ROG allies, but the Switch is the king. Maybe Microsoft has a way in where they can appeal to that more like hardcore gamer that wants that high fidelity, wants these games that I'm sort of sure the Switch 2 is going to be able to run like some pretty good stuff, but potentially maybe Microsoft can take that another step further and appeal to people that way. kind of in a similar way that, in the Wii era, like you were kind of saying, um, the Wii had like the lower fidelity and all of that stuff, and if you wanted to go for higher definition games, you went to PS3 or Xbox 360. So maybe that's a way they do it. I don't know. It just seems so nebulous at this point, this whole thing.
If you told me, because I'm right now on the fence about the Switch 2, if you sat here and told me that Switch 2 will be able to play Game Pass and all the games that are on it, I am buying it. No question. Because now I've suddenly got two libraries in one console. Same thing. If you said that it could play PlayStation games, like it's a done deal, right? So I think this like conglomerate, is that the word, like conglomerizing of like all the different libraries and publishers and studios coming together on one platform, I think that's kind of what the consumer wants. Like we've seen it with, there's so many streaming services, we can't have them all. Why can't we all just have one thing on one platform, everything's there? Because I know people who will cycle through this year, this month I'm using Netflix, cancel, next month I'm using Prime, cancel. Similarly, like I only pay for Game Pass on the months that there are games that I want to play on it. So I think really what we're all looking for is like we're tired of paying for all these different things and all these different places. If you can put it all in one, like that could sell phenomenally.
And I think we're getting close to that. Like they're talking about maybe not close to everything on one, but at least with this Xbox conversation, getting Xbox games everywhere and like getting them on Steam Deck. And like I keep going back to this idea that like Microsoft isn't a hardware company. Like Microsoft made Windows, which was software, and then they licensed that software to all these hardware manufacturers. Xbox is really like one of the few hardware like divisions that they really have. And so this to me really feels like we're just doing what we know how to do best. What if we take the amazing software engineers that we have, whether that be game developers, whether that just be like UI experience and like the Xbox software side of things outside of games, just the user experience has been heralded for so long, whether it's using the like original Xbox 360 Live Arcade or like live in general and that whole experience. Like they've really innovated things. And so they know what they're good at. Why not just like move away from the hardware and partner with these other hardware manufacturers, these other hardware companies, and get yourself everywhere.
Do you envision if they do get like an Xbox Game Pass on like another platform, like whether it's a Sony or a Nintendo, do you think they could get away with bringing Game Pass over, but it being like a truncated version? So maybe it's Game Pass, but you don't have like the day one exclusive stuff. You have a good library of games, but you don't have all of that stuff that maybe you would need an Xbox console or like a PC, I guess you could have, for those day one things. Do you think that could work, or maybe is that not enough?
I don't think so. I think it's got to be the full experience. And you know what? I think it's going to be. I like everything that I've said here today. I think is going to happen with Xbox. I have this feeling that like this is the direction they're going. Are they going to release another console? I do think so. Like we are so far along, but I've said this in a few places since this news kind of came out. This next Xbox console is going to be the worst selling Xbox console, but I do think it's going to be the most successful generation that they've had because it is going to be like innovations like this that really push them forward. Yeah, this new Xbox console could come out and sell terribly, but what if you can boot Steam OS on it? And like that would be huge. So now people have access to their Steam games and their Xbox games. Or in that generation, what if they also, I keep coming back to it, but get Game Pass on Steam, get Game Pass on Switch, get Game Pass in more places that you didn't even know you wanted it, and now you have it, access to your games at all times. That to me is like where I think they're going. And I think it's going to be it has to be the full Xbox experience. Whether those day one exclusives, I've actually thought for a while that maybe they walk back those day one exclusives entirely across Game Pass, but then what's the selling point? So I don't know.
I suppose it's also they could just have the Xbox storefront on other consoles and you do have to pay full price, but you get to play it on that console. That's another potential option. But I'm with you. I wouldn't if it was, I could see it going two ways. It could be like, because there's a lot of things on Game Pass that are also on PlayStation Plus, or that you can also buy on Nintendo and Steam and other things like that. So I think the only selling point would be their exclusives. So if you're not getting access to those, I don't know why you would be paying for it on another console. But yeah, if they did want to put it as an option to pay full price, I could see that happening, because then they're still getting revenue.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Any final notes before we get into the news for the week, or
Just Phil's crazy, man. Phil, he's got a plan, but I'm so like, I'm scared for Xbox players at the end of the day. But I mean, maybe this will work out for the benefit of
I'm
them.
scared, but I'm excited as well. Like it's totally scary. Like this could spell the doom of the brand entirely, but it also could like change the industry.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a watershed moment. It could all go horribly wrong, and yeah, this is maybe the end of Xbox, or it could go really, really well, and suddenly Xbox is on top, and we and now all suddenly we're an Xbox podcast. Who knows? Xbox, if you'd like to buy us, we're open to it.
Yeah. That's been a long running bit on here. 139 episodes in, we'll reiterate. All we ask is $50 million. I know last time we said 100 million. We've cut our price in half. Okay.
It's a great deal.
If you want to put us on Game Pass as a selling point, I think that could work,
Just like I don't know if you remember in like the old GameSpot or GameStops or EB Games, they would have like the TVs running like in-house programming where there'd be some dude telling you about like Just Cause 2. We could be that for Xbox Game Pass.
Exactly. We're willing to share. We are. So
yes.
Give us the mic.
Okay, let's get into the rest of the news for the week. Tom Drew, give us that news we choose jingle.
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
We go to our top story, a breaking exclusive from Newshound. Tom Drew with the cue card in his hat, and he's been hitting the streets, hitting the pavement, shaking hands. Tom Drew, I don't even know what this is, but you say in the document, secret exclusive. What's happening? You've got a big surprise.
I do. And look, I do again want to preface this. It's not like an insane thing, but I do think it's kind of interesting. But we'll get into it. We've heard a lot about video game adaptations over the past few weeks, months, years, right? But there's one adaptation that's kind of gone under the radar. Return to Silent Hill, the upcoming film that's adapting the story of Silent Hill 2. So for a bit of context, if you're not kind of aware of what's been happening with this movie, it was officially announced during like a Silent Hill showcase held by Konami in October 2022. So it's been a while since we first kind of heard about this movie. And we heard from director Christopher Gans, we got casting confirmation, we saw concept art. Things at that point seemed promising. The movie is said to have filmed from April 2023 to February 2024. So from what we know at this point, it's in the can. We just haven't really heard much more. But one of the locations is Serbia, and we'll circle back to the point about Serbia in a little bit. But before I get to that, a short teaser trailer was released around May 2024, so a couple of months after filming had happened. But timeline gets a bit murky here. I don't even remember when this happened. But since then, all of the official postings of the footage have been kind of removed offline. You can still kind of find the footage, but like all the official postings are gone, which is really strange. But from all accounts, the scenes that they showed in the trailer all faithfully replicate the look and the feel of the game, and a lot of people praise it for that. So now on to the actual news and the scoop. I don't know what we're going to call this segment, but this is our big exclusive here. My good friend Beth happened to be in Serbia around autumn fall time. So many months after filming was said to have finished, and she caught a glimpse at one of the sets from Return to Silent Hill, the hotel. She shared some pictures, so I'm going to share them with you guys in our Slack channel. I will also put that if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see them on screen. But she basically describes this hotel being kind of like horror-y and dilapidated rather than a stand hotel. She also mentioned that there was like a Viking village type of set and a replica of the White House. I'm not sure if those were like related to Silent Hill, because those aren't part of Silent Hill 2. Those could have been sets for other projects that were just in the area. So, but anyway, cycling back to the hotel for a second, there are two aspects I thought were kind of interesting with this. First of all, in the game, the hotel is called the Lakeview Hotel. It's quite a significant part of the game. You explore around it. In these pictures, though, the hotel is distinctly called the Divine Hotel. And I couldn't find any reference to a Divine Hotel in a Silent Hill game. But I just find it kind of strange that they wouldn't just call it the Lakeview if it's the iconic part of the game. Maybe it's a licensing thing. They weren't able to get the rights, maybe because maybe there's like a real life hotel chain and they just weren't able to do it. But maybe this could be hinting that the movie might be changing more from the game than we initially thought. Potentially, I don't know. It seems like a weird detail to not include. Anyway, the second aspect to this is why the set is still here if filming finished in February. Beth did say no one was filming there at the time that she was kind of there. But there were like guards telling people, like to kind of steer clear. Um, it's possible that it was just a leftover set and they just left it there and didn't take it down. But like to me, it's strange that they didn't. Um, since we haven't heard anything in a long time, I just feel like maybe some more filming is happening, or maybe it was set to happen again, and the movie could be having like some reshoots to retool somehow. But anyway, I've rambled a lot. Um, I just find this really strange because we haven't heard anything else since then. We don't have a release date for this movie. We haven't heard anything since filming ended, other than that teaser trailer, which is now off the internet. What do you guys think? Am I looking too far into this, or is there maybe something here? Lauren, I'll jump to you. Am I reaching it?
Just to confirm, how did she know it was for Return to Silent Hill? Was someone there who told her this?
Well, it says Silent Hill on the Divine Hotel thing, and like they were
Oh, okay.
and filming is confirmed to have taken place in Serbia, so it just lines up. I don't know what else it would be for. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the images you sent, it looks like it's in some state of, I don't know if this is what it's going to look like in the movie, but it looks like it's in between being pulled down or being set up.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that is the intention. It is all very strange. Maybe the movie is in a bit of trouble. Maybe it needs to do reshoots and this is why the set is there. Or it could just be maybe it seems like it's quite a large build. So maybe they're leaving it there for potential reshoots, or for maybe they ran out of money to pull it down. But also it could just be there for like if there's a studio nearby that may need to use it or something like that. But you're right there. I've looked into this Return to Silent Hill movie in the past when I've been trying to write about it, and there's just very little people. It's like last year it's like it's coming out in 2024 and nothing happened, and now I think it's like it's coming out in 2025 and still we're like, is there any evidence of that? So it is a strange case.
yeah. I just like why is it here? And like you said, yeah, they could be taking down like the dilapidated nature of the thing. Maybe like either that could be like, oh, they're going to retouch it in like CGI or whatever, but maybe they're taking it out. I'm not sure. But Klein, I don't think you've played Silent Hill 2, but you're pretty familiar with the story of it. What is your kind of take on this?
It's interesting I don't know why I don't know how definitively you want to say anything, Tom, but like would you say that this is an indication that they may be moving away from adapting Silent Hill 2?
That's the impression that I'm getting, or like at least maybe
Which is
diverting where
that's
they go with
confusing
it.
to me because Silent
Yeah,
Hill 2 is so beloved. It's so critically acclaimed. It's, I think, a story that you could fairly easily adapt into a movie. Um, the movie seemed to be done as far as
yeah,
we knew. And then 6 months later, you say, like it was like in the fall when this was
yeah,
spotted. They're filming again and it's in a different location, um, or like different in-universe location. It seems it
yeah.
does not seem like Silent Hill where we go in Silent Hill 2. It's confusing. I'm confused. I think that someone should do more research into what's going on with this movie because it feels a lot like a lot of these video game adaptations we get. I was going to say the name Borderlands, and that's probably what I would liken it to, where that movie seemed like it was done like 3 times, and
Yeah.
then they go back and they change this, they go back and they change this, and usually it's not a good sign that when a movie is done filming, you can do reshoots, but when you're Frankensteining an entirely new plot into a movie that's already been shot, it's probably not for the best.
Yeah, and I know like Silent Hill as a franchise. I mean, we had Silent Hill remake last year, and people really enjoyed it. But I know it's been a long dormant franchise that Konami's wanted to get right for a while. So maybe if they are doing reshoots, that's what they want. You know, they want to get the movie right. But I don't understand the logic. If this is like, why make it a different thing from the game? Give the players what they have come to expect, and like
And seemed excited about.
yeah, from all accounts, like the footage that they showed last year, all the comments were like very positive. They're like, I can't wait for this. And they like a lot of them were just like, I thought this was the game, and like it looked faithful from what I could tell. So to change such an innocuous detail, it's like that. It just seems very strange. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to say. Again, shout out to Beth. She also listens to the show, is why she passed this on to me. But yeah, just a very strange story. If there are any Silent Hill 2 fans listening as well, give us your take. Do you think this means anything? Because it could. It also could.
I really hope the Viking Village is a part of it. That sounded great.
That would be a wild.
That sounds very Resident Evil to me. Like that sounds
Yeah.
like not Silent Hill
Maybe
at
it's a
all.
crossover.
Maybe they are Frankenstein. We
What
did
with all the
hear
Mila Jovovich is going to show up. It's going to be crazy.
I was gonna say the director of Barbarian. I'm forgetting his name right now. He's doing a Resident Evil. Zach Kreger is doing his Resident Evil reboot. Maybe they are Frankensteining this into a crossover, and we're gonna get a Resident Evil Silent Hill 2 movie. That'd be kind of cool. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Those are two very different tones. Okay, that's good. I'm glad. Thank you for the scoop, Tom. If you've got any new scoops, please let us know, because we, again, happily will shill out for anyone. We'll move on to me. Speaking of relatively strange news, BioWare not looking so hot after this week. This is coming from Wesley Inpool at IGN. Key Dragon Age developers have announced that they are leaving BioWare after the developer restructured to focus on the next Mass Effect game. Yesterday, January 29th, IGN reported that BioWare had moved a number of studios' developers onto other projects within EA as it focuses entirely on Mass Effect 5. We've also learned that there were some significant layoffs at BioWare as well because of this. General Manager Gary McKay said that the studio is, quote, taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work, end quote. Quote, given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio, end quote, McKay continued. Quote, we have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with our other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit, end quote. IGN asked EA for specifics on how many individuals at BioWare were being impacted by this latest change, how many face potential layoffs, and how many remain at the studio, but EA's response was vague. Quote, the studio's priority was Dragon Age. During this time, there were people continuing to build the vision for the next Mass Effect. Now that the Veilguard has shipped, the studio's full focus is Mass Effect, end quote. Quote, while we're not sharing numbers, the studio has the right number of people in the right roles to work on Mass Effect at this stage of development, end quote. So it seems like they've trimmed down the teams. They now have everyone's going full bore on Mass Effect 5. I don't want to be negative, but this does scare me as somebody who likes BioWare's games. This is obviously coming off of Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which we learned a couple weeks ago that it failed to reach sales expectations. Do you think that this could potentially be like the first step towards the end of BioWare here, that they are slowly sunsetting this team?
I hope not. It's I mean, it is concerning. I mean, like I was looking at the numbers for Veilguard, and they're from reports it says 1.5 million, which is about 50% off the sales expectations from EA. For reference, Inquisition sold, and I'm getting these aren't usually confirmed here, but around 1.14 million copies in its first week. So I'm sure it would have accrued more over its time, but lifetime sales for Dragon Age Inquisition were 12 million. So yeah, it seems that Veilguard did underperform for them, which is a shame. Yeah, I haven't played. I don't think any of BioWare's games. I have the Mass Effect collection, but yeah, it does feel like BioWare's just kind of had a rough go of it in terms of like getting its franchise, like getting like really solid edges in its franchise. Like the last Mass Effect game, people did not like that game, and yeah, Anthem didn't like the World on Fire either. So here's hoping the next Mass Effect will bring the studio back, but yeah, it's not looking good.
Lauren?
Yeah, I would be more concerned after the next Mass Effect. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic about this. What it sounds like they've done is they had a bunch of people on Veilguard. They then didn't need that same amount of people for Mass Effect, so they redistributed them around the company. And these people perhaps don't like the new jobs that they've been put in, and it sounds like they are voluntarily leaving. So it's a shame that they're letting the talent go, but if you're not enjoying your job, then you're not enjoying your job. So I don't really see this as a big like beginning of the end or anything like that. I think it's like a natural progression. If Mass Effect, whatever the next one comes out, and that was a failure, then I would probably be worried because that's like quite a few strikes in the book, and we've seen, many studios closed for less. But yeah, like listen, Dragon Age the Veilguard was a little bit different to Inquisition. They tried something new. It didn't really like land with, some people. It landed with others. And that was a risk. And so I'm interested to see if the next Mass Effect does the same thing. Will they try and go back to what they did with 1 and 2, or will they try something completely new? But yeah, I don't think this is like as big a deal as perhaps the media is making it seem right now.
Okay, that's good. That is reassuring to me as somebody who is very excited for the next Mass Effect and loves BioWare games. I hope that they're around for a while. I just know the industry that we're in, and it does scare me a little bit, especially EA. Like their financial results also came out, and yeah, this is where we heard they've sold 1.5 million of Dragon Age, and they were expecting to sell 3. And then there's also news that the their latest entry into the FIFA franchise, which is no longer called FIFA, is underperforming, especially on like the in-game transaction front, that's EA's moneymaker, and that's when I start to get worried of like this is a company that could be getting desperate for cash very soon. And so the fat may start to get trimmed, which I hate to call BioWare that, but Veilguard rules. Veilguard absolutely rocks. But in EA's book, what have they really done for them lately? It's not a lot, which sucks because Anthem wasn't there. That wasn't their call to make Anthem the way that it was. And that's been well documented. Just bummer. Don't like it at all. Just give us a kick-ass Mass Effect game and everything is fixed, and they'll sell millions, and BioWare will be back on top of the world. Or maybe give them the Baldur's Gate franchise again, because they did Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I think, and that would be coming off of Baldur's Gate 3. That'd be a lot of fun. Okay, Lauren, your story. Let's get into it.
Yep, so I'm going to talk about how the next God of War game might be set in Egypt. This report comes from Insider Gaming by Mike Straw, who wrote, the next God of War game could be making its way to Egypt, according to a report from Daniel RPK. Quote, Sony is casting Middle Eastern actors for an unknown AAA game, which is likely to be the next God of War that explores Egyptian mythology, the report says. It's important to note that this information hasn't been confirmed or independently verified by Insider Gaming, and until that happens, please take the news with a grain of salt. Moving to Egyptian mythology wouldn't be surprising should it happen. The God of War saga began in Greek mythology before shifting to Norse for the modern games, and moving to a new pantheon it would make sense for the next era of the franchise. So it's not a lot to go off. It's just a small tidbit, but it could have big ramifications for what we know of God of War as a franchise. And so I just wanted to know what you guys thought about them potentially changing from Norse mythology to Egypt in the next game. Is that something that's exciting? Would you rather them have stayed with Norse mythology? How are you feeling about it, Tom?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this if this is true. Because there's so much like you can draw from Egyptian mythology. And I feel like it would be strange, at least from my perspective, to stay in that kind of Norse kind of arena just because it feels like Ragnarok did how kind of bookend that story quite nicely. Having a kind of fresh start for Kratos, I think, would be really cool. But yeah, seeing him like, there's so much like cool imagery, like seeing like a a big Anubis man fighting Kratos, I think would be really cool. Like interacting with Sphinx and getting little riddles and things like that. I think just kind of changing the environment completely as well would be really cool to take it that direction. Um, yeah, there's a lot of potential here. So I I hope this is true. Because I think it'd be pretty cool.
What about you, Klein?
I would be very excited for this as long as they can keep up the like high level of storytelling, incredible gameplay that we've gotten in this reboot. Take me anywhere to like explore Canadian mythology, like for all I care. I think that they've proven to me that they can reinvent this franchise, which they did once before, moving from Greek to Norse. Let's do it again with Egypt. I will say my one caveat is I hope this is not, I guess if they're casting it might be. I want to see Sony Santa Monica like do something else between now and the next God of War. Like I don't want them just to become the God of War studio. There's been rumors of like Cory Barlog's next game and it being like a sci-fi experience. Like that could be really cool and exciting. I want more God of War. I just would like to see what this team can do elsewhere. Like it's the reason we're so excited for like Intergalactic. It's like I love Last of Us 3 and I think we'll get Last of Us 3 eventually, but let's let Naughty Dog spread their wings a little bit and show us what else they can do in the meantime. So Egypt, super cool, very exciting. But I just hope it's not their next game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I think when I first read the news, I was a little disappointed because I'm like, oh, those Norse ones are so good. But at the same time, I don't want them to like drag down the quality by forcing another story in that world that isn't needed. I'm interested to see like, like will we see Kratos again? I assume that it's going to follow him, but like that's another transition that they kind of have to explain. Will Atreus be there, or will that all be left behind? I'm interested to see like what the plan is with the original characters. Will this just be another completely different time in Kratos' life that we haven't seen? Maybe it happens between the Greek and the Norse era. I don't even know. But yeah, there's definitely a lot that they can draw from that I think will make this series feel very exciting. But at the same time, it's a rumor, can't really confirm, but I think it is interesting to think of what the future of this big franchise would be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I wonder if this there's like people have kind of theorized or speculated like what if the next God of War game isn't focused on Kratos, it's more focused on Atreus because they built that gameplay system for Atreus in Ragnarok. Why not adapt that into another game and maybe just focus this on his own story? Because he does go off on his own adventure. Maybe that takes him to Egypt in this one. I think that'd be pretty cool. But even like, yeah, because I do wonder where you take Kratos's story after Ragnarok. I feel like I'd just like to see him like sit around and just chill for a bit. So I
Have
think
a
the
nice
way,
It's a
life.
farming
yeah,
sim. He's just a senior and he just opens a little Egyptian farm on the sand and
yeah, that'd be nice.
sips iced tea and looks out at the sun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be pretty fun. But I think the other way is like, yeah, you do go back to like another period in Kratos' life potentially, and it is set in Egypt because that's a bit more, I guess, closer to like that Roman uh area. Like Rome is closer to Egypt than Scandinavia. So maybe that is the way they go back and flesh out that backstory a bit more. But no, whatever way they take this, I'm excited. Maybe it's a sci-fi game with Egyptian mythology influences. I don't know. This could really
That'd be
go
cool.
anyway. I don't know. But yeah,
What if it's
interesting.
adult Atreus?
That would be cool. I'd like to see him aged up a bit and see that development. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Make him the new Kratos. I like it. Okay, that's the news for this week. Tom, Drew, give us that outro.
It's the news we choose. Yeah.
Now, before we go, we'll get into what we've been playing over the last few days. I will just quickly say I've just been playing more Metaphor. It's more Metaphor. I'll have a deeper conversation on it when we discuss our backlog games, I think, at the end of March. So just a lot more Metaphor, about 16 hours in. Lauren, you've moved. I'm assuming there hasn't been a lot of gaming in the last little bit as you've just changed house and changed surroundings, but maybe that might not be the case.
No, you assume correctly that like my PlayStation and gaming consoles were packed up quite early in the week, so there hasn't been a lot of time for that. But I was getting through Okami before that, which is our new game plus. So chipping away.
Tom, what about you?
Yeah, kind of similar. I've just been kind of getting my way through Okami, because it's pretty long, so I feel like I need to like get my way through that. The only other game is of course Marvel Rivals. My goal, my true goal is to get to Diamond in competitive. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm Gold 2 at the
Is that
moment.
hard? What is that like? I don't know. What's that tier system look like? I haven't played competitive rivals yet.
Yeah, so it goes from bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then diamond is like and then I think it goes to like celestial, and then there's a couple more. Those seem a bit too far for me.
Are there
I feel like I
tiers
got
within that too? Is it like I know Overwatch
yeah,
like gold 1, gold 2, gold 3.
yeah, it goes from gold 3, gold 2, gold 1, and then you go back to 3, and then so it goes that way. I got to gold pretty easily, so I'm hoping uh platinum won't be too difficult. Diamond might be a bit of a stretch, but we'll see. But I did want to take a little bit of time just to shout out another comment. We got some more comments on some of our other podcasts. Ryan Cortero from Ages of Fandom and Collider just said on our recent Nintendo Switch 2 podcast on YouTube, said, "You guys have been my source for video game news, so I love the speculation on the Switch 2. Brian was a great guest too, so thank you, Ryan. If you want to leave a comment on any of our past episodes or current episodes, you go head over to YouTube, head over to Spotify. You can leave comments on Spotify now too, right? So
Yeah,
we'd
if
love
you
to hear
have any like dream guests that you want to see on the show, just like Brian Shea from Game Informer, which we did have on, and all things Nintendo, please sound off in the comments. Let us know. We'd love to get some more like special guests here on the show.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for the comment, and hopefully we hear some more because it's nice to hear from people.
Yes, yeah,
Essentially,
we love interacting, and as we start doing more of these live streams and stuff like that, like I'm sure we'll get more and more comments. As Lauren mentioned, something you can comment about is our new Game Plus, a video game book club game of the month. We are playing Okami, as Lauren alluded to. Okami is our January-February book club game. We'll be discussing it at the end of February, so play along with us, then join in the conversation. It's a great time to do it. It's super cheap. It's basically on like every platform you could imagine, and you can prepare yourself for the sequel that was announced at the Game Awards last year. Also, while you're doing that, please go follow the show on social media. We are at Controller Club Pod on Instagram and Blue Sky, at Controller_Club on Twitter, and Controller.club on TikTok. Also, as Tom has said a few times, we are on YouTube. If you are listening to the podcast, you can watch us. Just Controller Club Podcast. Look us up on YouTube. You can find us. We've got new episodes, best of segments, YouTube shorts, live streams, all sorts of fun stuff. So if you want to join us on our video content adventures, you can do that over on YouTube, and rate review us wherever you get the show. It really helps out. Tom, where can people keep up with you? Do you have anything exciting going on, and what's happening in your life?
you can find me at Tom Drew Art on Instagram and Twitter. Haven't really posted much recently, other than the fact that I've kind of having an existential crisis because I'm playing Pokemon TCG Pocket, but I'm not getting what I want out of it. You can only open 2 packs for free every day. I don't want to pay money, so I might be buying physical Pokemon cards soon, which I said I would not do. But I think it's gone to that point where I'm just like, I need the endorphin hit. So if you want to find my descent into madness, Tom Drew Art, find that stuff there.
I like that your solution to not spending money on your phone is to go into a store and spend real physical money on cardboard that takes up space, which you do not have. So glad to hear that. Yeah, Tom, things are going well for you over there. Lauren, where can people keep up with you? What do you got going on? Anything exciting happening?
Yeah, you can follow me at lrouse19 on Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok. Not much posting going on right now with all the move and things like that, but during the week you can just find me writing regularly on the Direct and Game Rant.
You can keep up with me everywhere. I'm at The Kleinfelt, TheKleinFelt, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter. That's going to do it for this episode of Controller Club. As always, thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get gaming.